song you're hearing right now, it's called Drywall. It's from the band Surf Manchu. It's from their album, The Beast from the East. You can find them over at surfmanchu.bandcamp.com. Check them out when you're done listening to episode 559 of the podcast devoted to the classic and sometimes the not-so-classic genre cinema of yesteryear. I'm talking about Monster Kid Radio. And I am your writer, host, producer, Derek M. Cook, and I am stoked to talk about a giant monkey, chimpanzee, ape movie. We're talking about the movie Konga from 1961, I believe. I'd have to double check. But you know what? I'm just going to listen to the rest of the episode because I'm sure we're going to mention it when we talk with Robert Kelly from Record All Monsters. You might have even just heard Wednesday in the background. She's excited as well to talk about the movie Konga. We're going to get into that. Plus, Kenny is back with another look at famous monsters of Filmland, and Mark Matzke's Beta Capsule review is on deck with another episode of Ultra 7 in the discussion limelight crosshairs, that thing that he throws around and cuts monsters in half with, you know, the razor forehead thing that Ultra 7 has. You know what? Check out Ultra 7. I can't stress this enough. Ultra 7 is awesome. This movie was a lot of fun as well. Kenny is awesome. And you know what's also awesome? The Monster Kid Radio listener base, the audience, those of you who download the show, listen to the show, share the show with your friends. Thank you. It means a lot to have y'all having my back while we do episodes like this.
Gentlemen, we are witnessing a biological chain reaction, a geometrical progression of deadly menace.
It had started casually, insignificantly, as momentous events often do.
Look there. 2 points off the port bow.
The giant behemoth, the fire-spitting monster predicted in the Bible, its core a mass of lethal radiation. Rising from the depths of time, its strength enormous, its gargantuan ferocity a threat to London, to the world itself.
We must find a way of destroying this creature in one piece. Judging by the beast's size, I would say it was powerful enough to drive a battleship.
Of course, its tremendous electric charge is what projects the radiation. That's what makes the creature so deadly.
Well, have you any concrete suggestions?
Yes. First, block off the Thames.
Expecting us?
Join this international trio in a real-gone interworld escapade.
Have you ever seen a head pursued by a body? No, sir. Well, I have. It's horrible. Sir, would you mind posing just the way you are? Come on, let's get out of here.
I forbid you to leave.
You forbid all you like. You can't scare me. I'm leaving now.
When this cool cat gets ghost-frozen stiff, this hepcat moves in to make time. But a ghostly chaperone breaks it up.
Don't, Charles, don't!
Help yourself to a castle full of fear-filled fun. An unbelievable adventure into the realm of the unreal. The Headless Ghost. He's your host. Enjoy the carnal pleasures of people long gone.
I am Dr. Lee Cushing. Welcome to my Chamber of Horrors.
Dr. Cushing's Chamber of Horrors is a monster rally novel in the tradition of the classic Universal and Hammer horror film. It's written by Stephen D. Sullivan, the award-winning author of White Zombie, Daikaiju Attack, Manos: The Hands of Fate, and one of the creators of the original Chill role-playing game.
This book recreates the thrills of the classic monster vs. monster film. We've got vampires, werewolves, mummies, psychic twins, scheming madmen, and plenty of unexpected chills.
Now you can get Dr. Cushing's Chamber of Horrors in print, or for Kindle at Amazon.com and other fine retailers. Coming soon in other ebook formats. Find out more at CushingHorrors.com or SDSullivan.com, and support Steve's work through Patreon at HeySteve.com.
I do hope you've enjoyed your visit. Please come again, and remember, the chamber is always waiting for its next victim.
Live from the Land of Light in Nebula M78, home of the mighty Ultra Heroes, it's Monster Kid Radio's Beta Capsule Review. The secret of the lake is revealed in the third episode of Ultra 7, and, in a word, it is electrifying. Dan and Furuhashi are sent to the Kiso Valley to investigate a tip regarding a downed spacecraft, and upon arrival observe the unusual sight of a young girl removing a catch from a fisherman's line and swimming away. They give chase without success until they locate the flying saucer, and after entering, encounter the same girl, who claims to be using the ship as a hideout. As Dan realizes how unlikely this scenario is, the control room fills with knockout gas, and while losing consciousness he sees an alien figure approaching. The being knows exactly what it's looking for, the Ultra Eye, without which Dan cannot transform into Ultra 7. The bug-eyed creature removes it from Dan's pocket and fades into the gas cloud. When he comes to, Dan realizes what has happened and breaks protocol to track the thief by himself. Without warning, a monster rises from Lake Azuma. It's Eleking, a black and white kaiju with properties of an electric eel, which is being controlled by the alien from the downed UFO. Without the Ultra Eye, Dan unleashes capsule monster Miklas, who engages in a prolonged battle with Eleking, which ends when Eleking delivers a tremendous shock to Miklas through its tail. Running out of options, Dan returns to the spacecraft in a last-ditch effort to recover the Ultra Eye. If he fails, Eleking and its handler, Alien Pit, will be free to dominate the world. The Secret of the Lake was written by Tetsuo Kinjo, as were episodes 1 and 2, and it's fun to see how this world keeps unfolding. One Ultra Guard ship launches right through a waterfall, while a manned rocket takes off from their movable hillside. But the most enduring introduction is of two monsters, Eleking and Miklas, who would both become fan favorites and reappear in numerous series, including Kaiju Step, which debuted in 2018, an animated show not unlike Jim Henson's Muppet Babies, except the stars are little Tsuburaya monsters. Here in episode 3, the two duke it out in grand fashion in a story heavy on spectacle, action, and intrigue. The winning formula of Ultra 7. For Monster Kid Radio's Beta Capsule Review, this is Mark Matzke reporting.
picture of our time has ever unleashed shock spectacle of such scope and realism as up from the depths of prehistoric mystery rages Gorgo. The headlines of the world blaze the fabulous story of this monster from another age, catapulted from some vast sub-ocean cavern by unprecedented volcanic action. And the headlines scream the story of the reckless skin divers who captured the monster and put it on exhibition.
Sam! Pull out! Drop the nets! What do you think you're doing? Okay, take it easy.
I came to let him go back to the sea where he belongs.
Why?
Maybe to save your silly skins for you.
Hurry, hurry, hurry to see Gogo.
But the headlines do not record the story of a little boy who had a curious sympathy and understanding for the fantastic creature. What strange secret does he know that scientists only suspect?
You trying to say there may be a fully grown one of these things around somewhere? How big would a full-grown one be?
An approximate guess. The infant. The adult.
That would make it nearly 200 feet tall.
Wreaking terrible vengeance against the civilization that has captured its offspring. Towering over the cities of the world as millions flee its awesome terror.
Prepare! Prepare while you still can! Prepare!
Nothing can stop it. Defying the force of the army. The might of the Navy.
Fire number 1, Terry. Ready to open fire, sir. Fire 1.
Even the fury of the jets. In a crashing crescendo of sights never before beheld by human eyes, and adventures never before experienced by any man or woman.
I say there are things better left unsolved.
Who knows what waits for us in nature's no man's land?
Impossible, unbelievable, fantastic. But I tell you, it could happen. It could happen. It could happen. It could happen.
Yes, it could happen. For various authorities believe that buried somewhere under the polar ice cap, in a state of suspended animation, are the awesome creatures, the leviathans that roamed the earth at the dawn of time. And under certain conditions, a nuclear explosion could free one from his icy tomb. Then, guided by instinct, the beast would come back to the caverns of the deepest Atlantic where it was spawned. An armored giant, wreaking his prehistoric fury on modern man and his puny machines. Cities would be terrorized by the cruel intruder from the past. Populations crazed and panicked with fear by its destructive force. Granite and steel would crumble. Soldiers and their weapons would be powerless before the onslaught of the beast. The beast. The beast. The beast from 20,000 fathoms.
Herald Square, 34th Street. Broadway. Every section of the city is guarded. No one knows where the monster will strike next.
Another one, Colonel?
No.
You know where the radioactive isotope is?
No, but if it can be loaded, I can fire it.
I'll load it. Just remember one thing. This is the only isotope of its kind this side of Oak Ridge, so you can't miss.
Hello there, Monster Kid Radioheads. This is Kenny with a look at famous monsters of Filmland. Today's film, Konga, did not get feature coverage in FM, but I did find some mentions of it and its star, Michael Gough. Let's take a look. First of all, in issue 60 from December of 1969, we find this information in an article about man-eating plants. Konga, of course, was mainly about a mini-sized King Kong. Made in 1961 by Herman Cohen, this AIP monster ape picture dwelt mainly with the story of a monkey and his shines in London when he became king size. But its 90 minutes included some interesting footage on the man-eating plant theme. The plot cast Michael Gough as a scientist who brought back with him from Africa a baby chimpanzee and some carnivorous plants. That doesn't tell you much about the man-eating plant part, does it? But actually, when you've seen one man-eating plant, you've seen them all, haven't you? Oh, you're greedy. In issue 66 from June of 1970, in an article about gorilla suit actors, we have this brief but interesting comment from George Barrows. Not willing to travel to England, Barrows rented his ape suit to AIP for Konga. It looked terrible in the picture, the actor complains. They didn't even brush the hair, and anyone who knows anything about healthy gorillas surely knows an ape's hair is well groomed. Finally, in a lengthy article about Michael Gough, we have this brief synopsis of the film. The following year, Gough made his second film for Anglo-Amalgamated Films, the 1960 Herman Cohen production called Konga. This poor man's giant ape plot had Gough as botany scientist Dr. Charles Decker, surviving an air crash over the jungles of Africa and bringing home to London a small chimpanzee named Konga. Decker has discovered a revolutionary link between plant and animal life and tells his fiancée assistant Margaret that he plans to use little Konga in a daring experiment. But it's not long before little Konga becomes Big Konga. With a serum extracted from the roots of a carnivorous plant, Decker stimulates growth in the chimpanzee, which assumes gorilla-like proportions. At the college where he teaches, Decker is reprimanded for discussing his new discoveries with the press. Determined that nothing shall deter him from showing Konga to the world, the doctor hypnotizes the ape and commands it to kill the dean. Another murder is committed when Decker learns that Professor Tagore, an Indian botanist, has been working on the same experiments as he was. Wishing to keep all the glory for himself, he orders Konga to kill him. When Margaret learns that her fiancé has been seeing another woman, she attempts to destroy his work by killing Konga with an overdose of the plant serum. But the plan backfires when Konga rapidly grows to monstrous proportions, over 80 feet tall. Margaret dies in a laboratory fire, and Konga abducts Decker himself. The monster then takes Decker on a personally guided tour through the heart of London, terrorizing the population. Finally, an army of troops enters the scene, and Konga and his master turned slave are felled by the gunfire and exploding bazooka bombs the soldiers launch at him. With death, Konga becomes a normal-sized chimpanzee once more. That is all for this week's look at Famous Monsters of Filmland. We will have more next week. For MKR, this is Kenny saying adios.
Horror of Dracula! Dracula, the most terrifying lover the world has ever known. Who will be his bride tonight? Horror of Dracula. Dracula, dead and yet alive for 600 years. Dracula, the human vampire who lusts for human blood. See Horror of Dracula. The greatest shock story of them all now achieves new heights of motion picture suspense. See Horror of Dracula and watch the fiend who rises each night from his coffin bed to seek the rendezvous that alone can keep him alive. See Horror of Dracula and watch those who came to destroy a monster stay to become his victim. See Horror of Dracula, but don't dare see it alone. The chill of the tomb won't leave your blood for hours. Horror of Dracula, all new and in flaming Technicolor.
Hidden within each of us is a secret desire to destroy. Each of us would like to be able to become the other being, to know the master makeup artist's magic. How to make a monster. Broadway stellar performer Robert H. Harris brings to this theater the most terrifying of men, a man whose mind is distorted by hatred.
I'll use the very monsters they mock to bring them to an end. This maniacal strength will linger in your arms and hands. And with it, you'll destroy your real enemies. Exactly as I instruct you.
Pending autopsy findings, I would say that he was attacked from behind by someone with fiendish strength.
So what do we have to do? Look for a monster?
We're not talking about actors. We mean a real monster.
Behind the scenes in Hollywood's wonderland of make-believe, where pretty girls parade their pulchritude, terror stalks with the stealthy steps of death. And death following death permeates the very air you breathe with horror. Mr. Monster Maker of Maveland sells his talents to the devil.
I have a great honor to bestow upon you. I intend to add you two to my collection.
You want on your wall?
As real as I can get them.
See the Master Monster Maker's Chamber of Horrors in color. How to Make a Monster.
This is Count Dracula, and I'm here to offer you a friendly warning. Derek and his guests often get excited, and occasionally this results in revealing key plot points of the movies they're discussing. You know how the children of the night, monster kids, can get sometimes. So consider yourself warned. And don't come begging to me to kill them for their transgressions afterward. I have more pressing issues to take care of, like that pesky Van Helsing.
Listeners, I really should have hit record about 5 minutes ago, because Robert and I just spent that much time talking about chili recipes, because that's what you come here for, right?
Monster Culinary Radio.
Ooh, there we go. There we go. There's a lot of monster cookbooks out there, and genre-flavored, I don't know. Anyway, hi, it's Robert Kelly from Record All Monsters, back again on the show. It's been less than a month since your last visit.
I just can't stay away, Derek. I have too good a time.
Oh, I don't mind having you here. Actually, I'm glad that you set up the Monster Kid signal or whatever. No, you responded to my Monster Kid signal.
Yeah.
There we go. Yeah, because I had no idea what we were going to do this week. So when you reached out and said, let's talk about this movie, I was all in. But let's catch up. I know it's not been too long, but how's things going over at Record All Monsters?
Things are going pretty good. We've been releasing episodes regularly once again. We even have a mini-sode coming out, I think this week, on the Rankin Bass King Kong animated series.
Oh, wow.
That has been a fun little rabbit hole to go down.
That sounds like fun. I don't have a lot of memory of that show, but I know Rankin and Bass were kind of attached to some King Kong projects in their history, which is kind of cool. Very cool. When does that come out?
That'll be Friday, February 4th. It's February.
Oh, okay. So tomorrow, because this episode's going out on the 3rd, I hope. Yeah, well, another back-to-back double feature week for us, I guess, kind of, sort of.
Kind of.
Kind of.
As long as I'm putting out episodes.
Yeah. And well, at least this week, the episodes, the content's a little bit more thematically. Yeah.
Big monkeys.
That's right. Big chimpanzees that don't look anything like chimpanzees when they get big. But I get it. Whatever.
The line in the movie that just sums it up so nicely, one of the policemen tells the chief of police, there's a monster gorilla running around London growing to outlandish sizes. That's the movie. Yeah, of course. We're talking about the movie Konga from 1961, which is a movie that I had seen before. I'm assuming, well, you recommended it, so I'm assuming you had either watched it or, yeah, okay. We did cover it back in the first season of Record All Monsters, but I cannot stop talking about this movie. I love it so much.
Really? Okay.
Yes.
Well, that's great. I had fun with it. It's been a long time since I've seen it. I did find myself kind of drifting a little bit at the beginning, but as soon as Michael Gough got a good mouthful of the scenery, I was pretty much all in. So, God, he's so good.
He's so good. He knows exactly what kind of movie this is and exactly where to put it in full throttle and where to dial it back. And his read on everything is perfect.
He's one of these forgotten gems that I feel like you and I, we know that he did a bunch of horror stuff, but the mainstream culture, pop culture. Oh, that's Alfred from Batman. It's like, yeah,
Alfred,
that's great. That's nice. But dude, Konga, Black Museum, come on, you know?
The horror of Dracula.
Oh, yes.
So good in that.
Yes, he really is. He's delightful. Trog.
Yes.
Oh, he's so fun in Trog. But that's what we ended up watching, and I don't know how you watched it. I don't own it. Surprisingly, it's not in my collection, but it was on Paramount Plus.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I have the Blu-ray, which, again, I brought with me from one room of my apartment to the other. And there's some neat special features. There's 2 special features.
Yeah?
And they're both neat. One is a radio spot.
Oh.
For the movie. And the other's the trailer, which the trailer is a wonderful piece of little bizarre cinema in and of itself. But this movie...
oh, yeah?
Yeah, but...
We don't want to get too far into it yet, because there's something we do. And we got to do it. Even though you did it less than a month ago. We're going to play another round of the Classic 5.
The Classic 5! I'm always up for the Classic 5.
For listeners who are just now joining us or forgot since last week, the Classic 5 is a game that we play every week here on Monster Kid Radio, typically with a deck of cards. Each one of these cards has a this or that, which movie do you prefer style question on them. There are no wrong answers. It's just a way to get Monster Kids talking about their favorite subject, monster movies. I say traditionally it's played by a deck of cards because I still don't have my deck of cards. I think I know where it's at. I think I know which box I have them in right now. I just gotta finish unpacking that box and pull out the cards. Of course, by then, new cards will be available because my plan is by the end of this month, some new decks available over at drivethroughcards.com, and I'll keep everybody posted. But in the meantime, we've got 5 questions to go through. Robert, are you ready to play a round of the Classic 5?
I'm always ready to play the Classic 5.
All right, question number 1. Which movie do you prefer, Son of Kong or Son of Godzilla?
This is hard, but I'm always going to give it to Godzilla.
The mightiest monster the world has ever known. The mightiest egg the world has ever known. Introducing the Son of Godzilla. The fantastic red water, one of the many weird natural phenomena on mysterious Sorgel Island.
Son of Godzilla occupies a very special place in my heart. And as much as I love Son of Kong, I came to it much later as an adult. And the warm fuzzies that I have for Son of Godzilla never quite reached to Son of Kong.
See, I've not heard a lot of praise for Son of Godzilla. I've always heard about it being like lower on the list of favorite kaiju films. So that's interesting to me.
It's kind of coming around. A lot of people are saying, oh, well, this isn't, like Ghidorah the three-headed monster or anything like that, but it's a very good, kind of sweet kaiju movie. When I was a kid and I saw it, just the idea of Godzilla as a parent, like that tickled me.
Uh-huh.
They managed to make a nice relationship between, two giant radioactive dinosaurs. And it's done like through all this animalistic, just they're acting like animals for the most part. There are some very humanized moments from Minya, the son of Godzilla, who I think gets way more hate than he deserves.
Okay. Well, like I said, no wrong answers. Just was curious because, like I said, I've never really heard anybody answer that when it comes to this question. So, all right. Well, question number 2. What is your favorite man in suit, monkey suit, that is, or ape suit movie? And we'll take this one off the table. Well, because, we're talking about
I was going to say
so.
it might be Konga, but if that's off the table, oh gosh, there's so many. And I love monkey movies. As a matter of fact, when I get sick, when I'm in bed sick, I have a stack of ape and gorilla movies.
Ah, nice.
that I just sit in bed and watch? It's a really tough question. There was one I was watching yesterday that was written by Ed Wood called The Bride and the Monster.
Yep.
And where a newlywed on her honeymoon keeps having dreams about being a gorilla in a past life. Just because that's the one that's freshest, because there's so many good ones. I'm going to go with that at this second. The Bride and the Monster.
Okay. No, that's a good one. It's Ed Wood penned, but I love it too. So, but it doesn't matter. No wrong answers. No wrong answers. All right. So the gorilla is a staple in the old dark house movie subgenre. What other movie that doesn't have one could use a wandering mad gorilla?
I think this isn't a cop-out. Every movie should have a wandering mad gorilla somewhere in it. Every movie should, but I'm going to go with a more contemporary film that I love a lot that's been on my mind.
Oh, okay.
The Lighthouse from 2019.
What? I didn't expect that.
It's basically a haunted house movie. Just throw in a gorilla. There's a gorilla in the shed, and Robert Pattinson has to feed him, and then he escapes. And it's just part of the madness. Don't change anything else. Just throw the gorilla in.
Oh, man. That's a thing. I'm sorry. I'm just kind of stumped by that.
That's just how my brain works, Derek.
You broke me, man.
It's a scary place.
Okay. All right. I'm going to try to get back on track here. Okay. This one might be too much of a deep cut. We'll see. Which movie do you prefer? Captive Wild Woman, Jungle Woman, or The Jungle Captive? These are the 3 Ape Woman films from Universal.
I know them well. They're in my gorilla movie stack for when I'm sick.
I actually like them a lot too. So yeah.
I think the third one is probably my favorite. That's Jungle Captive, I believe.
Yeah.
It just has this kind of wild desperation to it. Like
okay.
we're doing this again, and every idea we haven't used for this setup, which isn't many, but it's fun, and I think because a lot of times most of the time when I watch this movie, I am sick, so it's like a fever dream almost.
Oh man, I could see that.
So that's very enjoyable in a way.
Okay. My only complaint with that one, and I agree, I think the film itself, overall, it's more fun to watch because it does have that kind of, let's throw everything at the wall now kind of quality, but it doesn't have Aquanetta.
Yes.
It's the one where they recast, and I like
that's
Aquanetta.
The only problem. Yeah, she's a good actress and nice to look at on screen.
Yeah. All right. So that was the fourth question. Question number 5. You often find men in gorilla suits in jungle movies. What other classic monster would you like to see in a jungle film?
Because when you're going with the classic monsters, I think you could make a very compelling werewolf movie with a jungle expedition.
Ooh. Oh yeah, you totally could. It would almost turn into like a, Murder on the Orient Express kind of style story because one of them's a werewolf, but who's killing them and they're going on. Oh man.
I would love to see something like that.
I'm getting some chills, man. That's good. Somebody write that. Because if you don't, I will someday. That's awesome. I love it. Well, that was the Classic 5.
The Classic 5.
Fantastic. There's a huge monster gorilla that's constantly growing to outlandish proportions loose in the streets.
Konga, born of a scientist's dreams, bred on a madman's nightmares, brought out of the jungle and turned into a wild beast beyond man's understanding.
I am your master, and you must obey me. Now you no longer have any fears.
starring Michael Gough as Dr. Decker, who stole the jungle's secrets of sorcery to distill Satan's black magic in his own laboratory. Margot Johns as the girl who becomes an accessory to murder, with Claire Gordon as the young student. Trapped with a madman in a nightmare world of fear, jealousy, and passion.
Let me go! Sandra, you know I loved you!
The jungle scene of color, excitement, and spectacle is thrillingly mixed with the close mystery of strange insectivorous and carnivorous plants. See them, fear them, and feel the anger and the anguish of Jess Conrad in a picture charged with powerful emotion.
Konga from 1961.
Over on Record All Monsters, because we look at monster movies in order of release, giant monster movies.
Right.
I see trends a lot. And 1961 I started calling it the first kaiju boom. Because we have 4 kaiju movies come out in the same year, and that's the first time that happens.
What are the 4 films?
Well, there's Konga, Gorgo, Mothra, and what was the 4th one?
Mothra, Gorgo. Oh, Reptilicus? Would that be
Reptilicus? That's the one.
Okay.
You can see why I forgot.
That's interesting. So you consider things like Reptilicus and Gorgo kaiju films?
I do personally, because what else do you really call it?
That's true.
Giant monster movie, but Daikaiju Eiga means giant monster movie in Japanese.
True. And I'm not saying I don't. Gorgo I can make the leap to pretty easily. It's a dude in a suit. Reptilicus isn't. And that's the one I guess would struggle with a little bit, but no, you're right. It makes sense, by strict definition.
And it follows kind of the plot of a kaiju movie. Discovery, something goes wrong, nature runs amok, science runs amok, the military gets involved. There's a specific trend in giant monster movies of the late 50s, early 60s of the magic bullet. When we talked about Giant Behemoth on my show, we talked about they create a special missile to destroy the behemoth. The same is done in Reptilicus and in The Beast from 20,000 Fathoms. Kind of done in the original Godzilla.
Yeah, okay.
So, just the magic bullet is a repeating trope. That's my name for it. There's no academic background for the recognition of this.
So I'm on board. I dig it.
Well, thank you. There's nothing quite like that in Konga.
There is like a 25-minute sequence of him just getting shot. That just goes on forever. Man.
It wouldn't get worse for a giant gorilla's death scene until the mighty Peking Man, I don't think.
It's just non-stop barraging of tracer bullets is basically what it looks like. It's not that's what they're using, but yeah, just non-stop. Somebody brings out a bazooka, there's explosions. Big Ben takes no damage.
No. And the little Michael Gough doll in his hand. Constantly screaming, "Konga, put me down, Konga!"
This movie's kind of a weird mix of like the giant monster movie, the mad science movie. It's got an edge of sleaze to it.
Yes.
With Michael Gough having designs on his very young, very pretty student. And yeah, it's got maybe some vibes of, what's the word I'm thinking of, or the movie I'm thinking of? It'll come to me later, but it reminded me of another movie that's got some very sleazy undertones, but it's still a great monster movie.
It is, and I think it walks that line just kind of perfectly for me personally. Like, you still kind of you don't really feel like you need to take a shower after you see it, but maybe you should wash your hands really good. To me, just the whole thing, if the movie weren't designed and advertised around giant gorilla running amok in London, you could almost call Konga like Chekhov's gorilla, because He's introduced very early, and then nothing happens with Konga for a long time.
And I don't know who wrote the film. I don't know anything about the movie. I probably should have done a little bit more research on it. But the story construction of that is just odd.
Well, Derek, I have some information.
All right.
This is what I do with giant monster movies.
All right, what do you got?
Producer Herman Cohen, who had produced I Was a Teenage Werewolf, I Was a Teenage Frankenstein. A
couple of my favorites.
How to Make a Monster, Berserk, The Headless Ghost, and notably, Bela Lugosi Meets a Brooklyn Gorilla.
This is probably the first time in horror fandom monster discussion history where the words notably and Bela Lugosi Meets a Brooklyn Gorilla were said right next to each other. I think the movie's fun. Notable?
It's notable in this context because
okay.
It establishes Herman Cohen's relationship with monkeys on film.
Okay.
Apes on film. But Herman Cohen wrote the screenplay with Aben Candle.
Okay.
And they're credited screenplay by Aben Candle and Herman Cohen. And then from an original idea by Herman Cohen.
Huh.
And I almost feel like it's aping the way King Kong's writing was advertised.
Tell me that was on purpose. Tell me that was on purpose. What you just said.
It was.
Okay,
it was.
okay.
I'm owning
All
it.
right.
I'm owning it. It was. It's aping the way the way King Kong's writing was credited as written by Edgar Wallace and so from an idea by Marion C. Cooper. So I think they're doing that on purpose. But I don't know. Also, this is such a direct King Kong ripoff, it's hard to call it an original idea.
Right.
But that's there in big green letters in the opening credits, an original idea.
I was happy to see that, though. Herman Cohen has produced and was involved with a lot of movies that I really like. You know, I interrupted you when I said a couple of my favorites regarding the two teenage Frankenstein and werewolf films. And, of course, How to Make the Monster is kind of sort of a sequel to that, but not quite. Kind of takes a meta approach. Blood of Dracula, which was the other one that he did between. Did a handful of, Target Earth, I love Target Earth. And Black Zoo, I don't think gets talked enough about.
He has a pedigree as a B-movie, monster movie guy.
Happy to see his name pop up in this. Like I said, I'd seen it before, but it had been so long since I had seen it. I didn't remember Herman Cohen was involved. I didn't remember any of this. Yeah. So it was great to see.
And they did shoot in London, and he was constantly fighting with American International, the American producers, financiers of the movie, because they were saying he was taking too long to make the movie. Because AIP's model was, you make this in 2 weeks, we edit it in 1, and it's on the drive-in circuit, the next day. They were dealing with the British film industry, because this was a co-production between AIP and I can't remember the other studio. He just basically kept ignoring them until he sent the print back.
Anglo Amalgamated?
Yes.
Yeah, I think that was Stuart Levy was
yes,
representative from that company involved. Okay.
I want to bring up another thing with this movie, and that is the gorilla suit, specifically.
I did learn about the gorilla suit, and I feel like there were some real missed opportunities and some real lack of respect.
Yes.
And I shouldn't laugh, I suppose. But yeah, what do you got?
It was George Barrow's famous gorilla suit, which also ties this to Robot Monster.
Yep.
It was not George Barrow's in the suit, however. It was an actor named Paul Stockman who was a stunt actor, but was not a suit actor, notably. He'd been in Dr. Blood's Coffin, which also came up the last time I was on. But they damaged the motors in the head that helped the jaw move. I was trying to say jaw and pulling at my jaw, but they can't see that. When George Barrows got the suit back, he had to spend the entire rental fee pretty much repairing the head, which is...
Yeah. The performance was okay. I mean, it could have been a little bit more dynamic, and I can't tell if that was the actor. I don't know if it was the producer or the director not giving adequate direction or enough time. There are a lot of Konga just stands still and looks around with his eyes shots.
Yeah.
A lot. So you know that going into the movie. It's not enough to ruin the film or anything like that, but it does get a little monotonous after a while. And I can't help but wonder if somebody like George Barrows could have brought more life.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure. For me, what makes that watchable is I imagine the discomfort, not like the physical discomfort of being in the suit of the actor, but his like lack of sureness of how to
maybe
go about that. I see him and Konga like looking around with big eyes and turning his head, and I picture the guy inside being like, well, if I were a gorilla who was suddenly this big, I would probably be pretty nervous. And he just seems so uncertain about where to take it. And I think about that, and it all of a sudden makes it very fun for me.
Like I said, it's a little monotonous, but it's not enough to take away. I mean, because even at the end, where he is just kind of standing there in front of Big Ben, you've got Michael Gough yelling, "Konga, put me down." Oh, man.
You know, you brought up the director. There's a guy named John Lemont.
Mm-hmm.
I was on his IMDb, and I didn't see any other, like, straight-up monster movies or even horror movies, really. A lot of crime dramas. The same year he made this movie, he worked with Claire Gordon, who played the assistant, on a crime drama called And Women Shall Weep.
I saw that title. Did you look at the movie poster? The one sheet?
I did.
Oh, it looks awesome.
I did. It does. All of his movies looked very interesting to me. There's another one, Shakedown, that had Hazel Court and Donald Pleasance, and just from the cast alone, I was interested in that. And it's another crime drama. I'm looking into seeing what else he's got.
Yeah.
But this just is such a wild outlier in his filmography.
Yeah, it really is. So you love this movie. Do you remember how you first came across it or what led to you watching it to begin with?
Again, I think it may have been because I like to watch monkey movies when I'm sick.
Okay.
I had, King Kong and Mighty Joe Young for the longest time. And then I got some, like, of the public domains, The Ape or Ape Man and stuff. Got those in the mix.
Yeah.
And just kind of, I started buying gorilla movies sight unseen.
Oh, yeah?
Oh, yeah.
How'd that work out for you?
But it's coming back to me as I'm talking about this, because I was also starting to try and buy more obscure kaiju movies at the time.
Okay.
And I remember I passed up buying Gorgo because I found this on a double feature DVD with Yongari, Monster from the Deep.
Ah, there you go.
And I said, okay, all three of these I haven't seen at this time, but this is two movies. And I probably should have gotten Gorgo. But when I finally watched Konga, when I was sick, I was like, this is perfect. This is just perfect for having a fever and falling in and out of sleep. And I couldn't believe that the movie, after watching it when I was sick once, was as crazy as I thought it was. And again, tons of times I've watched a movie while I'm sick or sleepy, and it's very different from how I remember it. Konga was not any different from how I remembered it. And that just made me fall in absolute love with it.
Yeah.
Like, it's a movie I share with people especially people who have a little bit, a toe dipped into monster movies. I feel like it's still a little too obscure.
I think even within our circles, when we think about Michael Gough in these films, we think about Horrors of the Black Museum. Maybe you think Trog.
Mm-hmm.
No, or Horror of Dracula. I mean, obviously, Horror of Dracula. I don't think this one comes up. And honestly, sometimes I mix it up with another movie that is not nearly on its level. I'll bring it up here in a little bit. When you first brought this up to talk about on the show, suggested it, I had to stop for a second because I think the way you put it was I've been looking for an excuse to watch either of these movies again.
Mm-hmm.
And when I initially thought you were referring to a movie from 1969 called The Mighty Gorga, I was starting to question whether or not I want to have you back on. No, I'm kidding. The Mighty Gorga. I have some really interesting, fond memories about The Mighty Gorga, but it's nowhere near Konga's level.
No. Mighty Gorga's on the docket for Record All Monsters Season 2. We might just have to have you on for that.
I would love to, because I think the movie's pretty rough.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I think I talked about this on the show. You know, my girlfriend and I broke up, but before we broke up, she was over here and we were trying to find a movie to watch. And we were going through my Plex server. You know, Plex allows you to watch movies off your computer on various screens or whatever. And she was in the driver's seat. She had the controller and she was going through and kind of looking at the different titles. And The Mighty Gorga is on there. And as she's scrolling through, I said, that movie right there, The Mighty Gorga. Oh, man. And she's like, okay. We started watching it. And no more than 10 minutes in, she looks at me and says, do we have to keep watching this? And I said, no, we don't. Oh, man. And I forget what we ended up watching after that, but it was nowhere near as mighty. And maybe that's why she broke up with me, you know? No.
I actually... you bring that up. Maybe this won't make the cut of the episode, but my high school girlfriend broke up with me, or we broke up in part because she was sick of watching monster movies with me.
Oh, no. Well, you dodged a bullet there, man.
I did. And she listed that. She's like, you're always watching monster movies. Because we did watch Dracula, Dracula's Daughter, and Son of Dracula all in a row one night.
Oh. That sounds like, oh, man.
It was wonderful, and she fell asleep halfway through Son of Dracula, and I was like, but, no, dodged a bullet there, so.
Well, yeah, I'm glad that it wasn't The Mighty Gorga that you recommended, because I don't think I was really in the right mindset to watch it. I watched it last night, Konga, that is, and I don't think I was quite in the Mighty Gorga mindset. I have to be in a particular mindset for it, especially since... You know what? I'm going to save it because I would love to come onto your show to talk about it.
Let's do it. I have a block of writing to do soon, that's why I have to rewatch it. And it has been a very long time since I've seen it. And I can't wait to have to write, 1,500 words about The Mighty Gorga.
The first time I saw it was, you know what? When I'm on your show, I'll talk about the first time I watched it. Let's leave it at that.
All right.
So... Konga is definitely mightier than The Mighty Gorga. It's got Michael Gough. The cast is okay. A lot of the college kids are kind of interchangeable, and even the
main guy.
The one that's got designs on. Yeah, he wasn't even somebody that really stood out to me.
He shows up halfway through the movie, even knowing that Michael Gough is being a creep toward his girlfriend. He comes off as just being jealous and not really having... It's not to protect her as a person. It's almost like, that's mine. And it's just...
Yeah.
One of the kind of borderline icky things is like this tug of war over Claire Gordon's character.
Yeah. The fight they have in the Ranger's hut. Dude almost killed Michael Gough. Or
yes.
Dr. Decker. And
Dr. Decker.
It's agreed when it's all said and done. Yeah, we're not going to talk about this. We're good. Okay. I guess it was because he was planning to send Konga after him later. I don't know.
I guess.
But there was an opportunity to get rid of your rival there, dude. But,
Speaking of Konga getting rid of people, I wanted to bring up the actor George Pastel.
Okay.
Who plays Professor Targo.
Yes.
He's a Hammer stalwart. He has bit parts in lots of Hammer movies, memorably as Mehmet Bey in Their Mummy. Their first The Mummy.
Yeah, as soon as I turned up on screen, I was like, oh, yes. So I was like, yeah, there you go.
And I show this movie to everyone. Like, even before I had the podcast, I would be like, hey, y'all want to see something nuts? And a friend of mine who's also very interested in these movies, he recognized him from not The Mummy, but one of the other Hammer Mummy films that he was in.
Curse of the Mummy's Tomb.
Yes, that's the one. Mm-hmm. And so we we paused the movie and went on this little detour talking about him and looking stuff up. And we found out, because as a Hispanic man, it's always very important to me that non-white actors play non-white characters.
Gotcha.
And I was so impressed to see that he's actually Middle Eastern.
Right?
He's from Cyprus. And, I mean, on a dartboard, I wouldn't get mad at that, you know?
Well, and he's good. He's
very good.
Such a great voice. His voice is just phenomenal. If I could go back and record with some of these folks, man, he's somebody I'd want to get on tape or MP3 or whatever, because that voice is amazing.
Terrific voice. He's so good in this movie. He has 2 scenes, but he stands out really well.
Yeah.
Like, it's a very good performance. And like I said, how Michael Gough knows exactly what kind of movie he's in and when to go to 11 and when to keep it back at like maybe an 8. This guy, George Pastel, plays it completely straight down the middle.
Yep.
Almost like Adam West in the Batman series. Just.
Ooh. Oh, and he would have been a great Batman villain.
He would have.
Oh.
But just like, he's just playing it completely straight, but still seemingly aware of what is going on around him.
Mm-hmm.
It makes a great contrast with, mustache twirling Michael Gough.
Yeah.
In those scenes they share. So I just wanted to bring him up because he always sticks out. His 2 scenes always stick out to me.
Mm-hmm. Well, speaking of people that share the screen with Michael Gough, what did you think of Margot Jones as Margaret?
I don't know if I liked the performance, but up until the end when she causes everything to go wrong.
It really is kind of her fault, isn't it? She's
driven to it.
Yeah, that's true. I don't want to. Yeah, that's true.
She's driven to it, but I mean, it is her final action to give Konga too much growth serum. Which growth serum? That's that's another.
it's from mixing animals and plants, and
yes.
Growth. We didn't even talk about the greenhouse.
Oh, God. The greenhouse has some amazing weird plant designs.
Oh, I loved it. It made me think of Die Monster Die.
That.
I loved that. But as far as Margot Jones goes, I was okay with the performance. I was a little mixed on the character herself. It felt like she didn't really have a lot of, I don't know, agency, direction. She was kind of there, maybe kind of like, almost like a prop to Michael Gough's character. But towards the end, you're right, she does kind of get more involved.
I thought the character could have been really, really interesting if they'd given the script another polish, like get more inside her motivation. Why is she we know she's in love with Dr. Decker, but why is she so devoted to him? You can't just say, because she's in love with him.
You need a little bit more than that. Yeah.
Let's get into that. Like, she could, honestly, I could see the movie being completely from her perspective.
Ooh, yeah.
She is potentially the most interesting character, but it never quite gets there.
I think I'm mostly disappointed by her because she stuck around after Dr. Decker killed the cat. That to me was like, nope, he's irredeemable at this point, and you got to get out. Which I had forgotten about that too. But as soon as the cat shows up on screen, I knew that something terrible is going to happen to that cat, and it does. So be forewarned, listeners.
Fortunately, they don't show it.
And it's pretty obvious not a real cat. They show the body later. It's There's a couple of dolls, dummies, I don't know, for dead animals that it's obvious, and I'm glad, that's the way they went. They didn't just, tranquilize an animal and call it good. I'm glad they went that route.
Right.
But come on, man. It's a cat. You don't do that.
I think it functions in the narrative as this is his irredeemable moment because everything else he does after that, it's just, he's gone. Yeah. He's gone. But it is a shock. I remember the first time I showed my wife Courtney this movie, I did not warn her. I usually have to warn her when there's something like that. And it completely slipped my mind. And I was like, oh no. Like right before I paused it and was like, okay, so hold on a second.
Yeah. So this was made into a comic.
Yes.
By Steve Ditko, Steve Spider-Man Ditko.
Yes, sir. I use it sometimes as one of my Facebook cover images of Konga waiting to catch a missile.
I've never read it, and maybe that makes me a bad comic book fan. I don't know. Does it follow the movie, or does it just tell more tales? How do they justify getting 24 issues of story out of Konga?
Charlton Comics got the rights to 3 of the 4 giant monster movies that came out in 1961. Congo, Gorga, and Reptilicus.
I knew they had Gorgo. I guess I didn't realize they had Reptilicus.
And they did less with I think Reptilicus only got 12 issues. I think Konga and Gorgo both got 24. And at one point, Gorgo and Konga do cross paths in the comics.
Really?
It's not in the one I have. I think that's in the because I have the Gorgo book, Steve Ditko's Monsters.
Okay.
Which is gorgeous, and there's an ad for the Kongo one, which I can never find on the back page, and I think the crossover is in the Kongo one. But yeah, it's just further adventures, basically. They pretend Konga didn't die and keep moving forward. Konga does more stuff.
Well, that's out there, and I was going to ask about that Steve Ditko's monster collection, because I've seen it online. I don't own it, but it looks gorgeous.
Yeah, I actually got this Gorgo one as a gift. I was so excited, and I've read it a few times. I like to lend it to other people who have, interest in comics and monsters.
Sure.
These comics, Steve Ditko monster comics, are a lot of fun.
His art style for all of that is just nuts. I love it.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess I kind of love Konga.
Good. Let Konga into your heart, Derek.
It's bereft of music for a good chunk of the film. I could have used a little bit more film score, but, that's just me. And a lot of times it sounded a lot like the music from Horrors of the Black Museum, which, it's by the same guy, George Sherman.
Yeah.
I think I pronounced that correctly, which is great. And I've got that on I was about to say on CD. That's not true. I've got some MP3s of that around here somewhere. So
I wondered if it wasn't stock music or library music, just because it kind of flies under the radar. It's not bad.
No, not at all.
It's enjoyable. I also get really bogged down in the details of the score, but a lot of times if I don't, I didn't feel compelled to look up the composer.
I mean, I knew him from Horrors of the Black Museum.
Mm-hmm.
And a few other things. So, I mean, he did a couple things for Hammer too. Lost Continent, their version of. No, that wasn't their version, was it? No, it wasn't. That was the Disney version of Dr. Sin that he did. Interesting.
Oh,
but he did some other Hammer stuff, Camp on Blood Island, a few other things here and there. So. Yeah, I mean, he's good. I like him. He's not somebody I think of when I think about classic horror film composers right off the bat.
Yeah.
But, it's good stuff. And like I said, I've listened to the Horrors of the Black Museum on my iPod years ago over and over and over again because it's so pompously grand.
Yeah, it's a good soundtrack. There's a lot of good cues in it.
And then you've got the Michael Gough screaming, "Konga, let me down."
Konga, put me down! Konga! Put me down.
Oh man, it's good stuff. I really enjoyed it a lot. It kind of meanders a little bit here and there, but it's still, you're caught up in the wake that Michael Gough leaves behind in every scene that he's in. And he's just deliciously bad in this and irredeemable and does some pretty terrible things. So it's okay that he kind of gets his in the end. He had it coming.
No, it's one of those mad scientist movies where you feel good watching, his experiment come to an inevitably tragic conclusion.
There you go. It's a good way to put it.
He tampered in God's domain.
Isn't that the way? You should just stay out of that.
Ain't that just the way?
All right, so Konga right now, it is available on Blu-ray. I don't know if the DVD is still in print.
No, the DVD through MGM is no longer in print. It's a Kino Lorber Blu-ray.
Mm-hmm.
Is wonderful. There's not a day has gone by where I have not been happy that it's in my collection.
I might ask you to send me, if you don't mind, the radio spot recording.
Yeah,
I'd love to drop it in this episode. I think
I can absolutely do that.
I have a bunch of radio spots. I don't think I have Konga.
I may have it on file from my show, so I'll take a look. And if not, I'll re-record it tonight.
Well, listeners can look forward to that at the end of this chat. And if they need more of you, they can look for you over at the Record All Monsters podcast. I'll make sure there's links in the show notes, but just basically look up Record All Monsters. You're going to find him. He's got a new episode coming out tomorrow. You said it's a mini-sode?
It's a mini-sode. We call them Quick Looks.
Okay.
It's a Record All Monsters quick look at Rankin Bass's The King Kong Show. And the movie King Kong Escapes was spun off from that.
Which is one of my absolute favorite films. I love King Kong Escapes so much. So much so that I spent a good chunk of money off of a gift card that was given to me to get the Italian film poster that I have of it framed.
Oh, man.
I just don't know where I'm going to put it. It's the one thing that I don't know where I'm going to put in my new place, because I want to give it a nice place of honor that I can look at all the time, but I don't want it to just be there, so I'm trying to figure out where it's going to go. But I love it. I love King Kong Escapes so much.
It's so good.
Yeah. Maybe I'll go watch that here. Who am I kidding? We both know I'm going to go watch The Mighty Gorga. Come on.
The Mighty... How could you pick King Kong Escapes over The Mighty Gorga?
I'll go have myself some of that chili we were talking about a little bit earlier and put in The Mighty Gorga. That's my evening. Thanks for doing this. I appreciate it. It is a time zone difference, so I appreciate you staying up late to do this recording. You're always welcome here. So
I'm always happy to be on, Derek. Like I said, I listened to MKR before I even had my own podcast, and I'm just so happy to be a part of it.
Right on. I'm happy to have you on, man. Mighty Gorga. The thing is, I'm only half kidding. I may go put it in.
Konga. Not since King Kong has the screen exploded with such mighty fury. Defying bullets, bombs, rockets, standing 100 feet tall, sending an entire civilization into panic. Konga. In color and speculation.
Today was like any other. The hum of daily activity until Reptilicus. A beast born 50 million years out of time, spreading terror in its path, destruction in its wake, towering over the cities of the world. Reptilicus. Invincible, indestructible. Reptilicus. In color from American International. Even after you see it, you won't believe it. Reptilicus.
Thank you. I've been standing there for centuries.
Yes, I suppose it seemed... Why, it's raining, but you're not wet.
No, I'm not, am I?
Where are you coming from?
I was watching a wonderfully terrifying double feature movie. I was a teenage Frankenstein and Blood of Dracula.
Oh?
Professor Frankenstein created a teenage monster to bring havoc and terror to all who meet him, but he left a few parts out, particularly in the poor lad's face.
May we change the
And
subject?
the vampire in Blood of Dracula, quite unfriendly except when hungry, than any friend will do for a few ghastly moments.
Please,
Oh, here's where I must leave you.
But there's nothing here but an old cemetery.
Yes, I know. I want to meet some old friends here. After you see I Was a Teenage Frankenstein and Blood of Dracula, you might drop back here. We'll discuss the pictures to some length.
Yes, I'll do that.
The fantastic duel of the century, the most ferocious battle in history. The flesh and blood King Kong fights his most incredible enemy, a 60-foot robot King Kong forged of super steel. King Kong escapes. All new, all thrilling in Technicolor. King Kong battles missiles, monsters, and a King Kong of steel. King Kong escapes. A Toho Company limited picture, a universal release.
Okay, I wasn't kidding. I really did just go watch The Mighty Gorga when I was done recording with Robert. I should have sat down and edited the episode, but I just needed a break from the office, from the computer, and of course I'm going to unwind with The Mighty Gorga, because that's just who I am. You know what? It wasn't nearly as bad as I remember it being. It has its charm. It's got some bright spots. Is it as good as Konga? Absolutely not. I would never ever try to convince you otherwise. I had a really good time with this episode. Robert really stepped up. He reached out to me because I said I didn't know what I was going to be doing on the next episode of Monster Kid Radio. We set up the Konga recording. We made it happen. Thank you again to Robert. Kenny, thank you so much for putting up with my kind of wishy-washy release schedule as of late. I'm trying real hard to get things back down to you can count on it kind of schedule. I'm thinking Thursday night, Friday morning is what we're going to be shooting for from now on. And of course, Mark Matzke keeps bringing the ultra heat with the Beta Capsule review. Thanks, everybody, for being part of the show. If you want to be part of the show, there's a couple of ways you can do that. If you have an idea for a segment and would like to contribute to the show, either as a one-off or a regular thing, drop me a line. Or if you have any feedback for the show,
you can call and leave a voicemail for Monster Kid Radio at 503-810-5MKR. That's 503-810-5657.
Or you can send an email to the podcast. monsterkidradio@gmail.com is the email address. That's monsterkidradio@gmail.com.
This is, of course, listed on the website over at monsterkidradio.net with links to our Patreon, Discord, Facebook page, Facebook group, Facebook page, Facebook group, and Twitter. We got the Twitter as well. And I'm thinking about bringing back or reactivating or getting back into Instagram with Monster Kid Radio. I'm on Instagram personally under It's Pronounced Cook. Wednesday's on Instagram personally as Wednesday Potato. Why don't we get the Monster Kid Radio Instagram up and running as well? Stay tuned for that. That'll be coming in the near future. What else is coming in the near future? I have no idea. Once again, I have no idea what we're doing for next week's episode. So stay tuned. But in the meantime, remember that Monster Kid Radio is a registered service mark of Monster Kid Radio, LLC. All original content of Monster Kid Radio by Monster Kid Radio, LLC is licensed under a Creative Commons Attribution, Non-Commercial, No Derivatives 3.0 unported license. Of course, that doesn't apply to the song Drywall. That is copyright 2017 Surf Manchu. It's from their album, The Beast from the East. You can pick up at surfmanchu.bandcamp.com. My name is Eric M. Cook. I'll talk to everybody next week, whether I have a movie or a topic to talk about or not. Ciao.